Hi, and welcome to the channel. If you'd like to check out the previous part, you can click here. I hope you enjoy the story. You'll stay here, Seung-Hyun repeated, his voice calm but final. No one will come near you. No one will dare. Ao turned, her pulse quickening as she met his gaze. And if I refuse? If I walk out of here? His lips curved, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. He took a step closer, closing the space between them until she could feel the heat radiating from his body. Then you'll be dead before morning. That car tonight wasn't a warning, Ao. It was a promise. You're caught in something bigger than you realize. The only choice you have now is whether you face it alone or with me. Her breath caught. His nearness was overwhelming, his scent clean, sharp, laced with something darker, filling her lungs until she felt lightheaded. You keep talking about choices, she whispered, forcing her voice to steady. But every word you say makes it sound like I don't have any. Seung-Hyun leaned closer, his lips just a breath from her ear, his voice low, deliberate. You don't. Not anymore. You walked into my world the moment you caught my eye. Her body tensed, but she didn't pull away. His presence pinned her in place, a storm she couldn't outrun. Finally, she found her voice. What exactly are you offering me, Seung-Hyun? Because all I've heard so far are threats. His gaze flicked down to her lips before returning to her eyes, as if considering whether to answer honestly or keep her in suspense. He straightened, his expression unreadable, but his voice carried a dangerous certainty. I'm offering you everything, he said. Your boutique, expanded, financed, made untouchable. Your name, known in every circle that matters in this city. No more scraping for recognition. No more doors closed in your face. With me, every door opens. Ao's heart hammered against her ribs. The words were tempting, intoxicating even, but she knew there was more. And the price? She asked softly. He stepped even closer, and she had to tilt her head back to hold his gaze. His jawline was sharp in the lamplight, his eyes dark and steady, his voice a low murmur that seemed to wrap around her. You belong to me. Her stomach tightened, heat rising in her chest. She wanted to recoil at the arrogance of it, but her body betrayed her, responding to the weight of his words in ways her mind refused to admit. You'll live here, he continued, under my protection. You'll design for my brands, but your name will stand beside mine. And when people look at you, they'll know you are untouchable, because you are mine. His hand lifted then, slow, deliberate. He didn't touch her, not quite. His fingers hovered near her chin, close enough that she could feel the warmth of his skin without the contact. Ao's breath grew shallow. The distance between them was unbearable, suffocating. She hated him for the way he made her heart race, for the way her body seemed to lean into the tension against her will. And what if I say no? She whispered. Seung-Hyun's smirk deepened, though his eyes burned with something sharper, darker. He finally let his fingers graze her chin, tilting her face up ever so slightly. The touch was feather-light, but it sent a shiver down her spine. Then I'll protect you anyway, he murmured, his voice like velvet over steel. Because whether you admit it or not, Ao, you're already mine. The words lodged in her chest, hot and suffocating. She couldn't look away, couldn't breathe. The silence between them was electric, charged, every second threatening to spill over into something she wasn't sure she could stop. And in that silence, for the first time, Ao considered surrender. The following morning, Ao awoke to the faint sound of voices drifting up from somewhere deep inside the mansion. For a moment, she thought it was a dream, but as the tones sharpened, deep, authoritative, edged with tension, she realized it was real. She slipped out of the silk sheets, her bare feet padding softly across the polished wooden floor. The hallway was quiet, lined with art she barely noticed as she followed the sound. Down the grand staircase, past the glinting chandelier, the voices grew clearer. She froze halfway down. Seung-Hyun stood at the center of the wide living room, his broad shoulders squared, his posture impossibly calm. Around him, 3 men in dark suits stood rigid, heads bowed like guilty children caught in a storm. On the glass coffee table between them, a leather folder lay open, papers strewn across it. You had one job, Seung-Hyun said, his voice quiet, controlled, but so sharp that Ao's skin prickled. And yet, last night, a car nearly killed her. One of the men swallowed hard, sweat glistening on his brow. Sir, we didn't expect. You didn't expect? Seung-Hyun's eyes snapped to him, black fire behind them. You didn't expect the enemy to take advantage of your incompetence? You think they wait for permission to strike? The man faltered, stammering for words. Seung-Hyun stepped closer, his presence alone enough to make the man tremble. You know what happens when you fail me. Without raising his voice, without so much as breaking a sweat, Seung-Hyun reached for the glass of water on the table and, with one sudden movement, shattered it against the marble floor. The sound cracked through the air like a gunshot. The man dropped to his knees instantly, head lowered, muttering apologies. Ao's heart hammered in her chest. She should have turned back, should have gone back to her room, and pretended she hadn't seen this. But she couldn't. Her eyes stayed fixed on him, on the cold precision in his every move, the way he bent men twice his size with nothing but a word, a look, the faintest gesture. Seung-Hyun bent slightly, his voice dropping low. If this happens again, you won't be on your knees. You'll be in the ground. Do you understand? Yes, sir, the man stammered, his voice shaking. Seung-Hyun straightened, adjusting the cuff of his shirt as if he hadn't just issued a death threat. His composure was terrifying, more terrifying than rage could ever be. And then his eyes flicked upward. Ao froze where she stood on the staircase. For a heartbeat, she thought maybe he hadn't seen her, but then his gaze locked on hers, dark and unwavering. Come down, he said. Not a request. A command. Her legs felt heavy as she descended, each step loud in the silence. When she reached the bottom, the men avoided her eyes, their heads bowed as if her presence embarrassed them. Seung-Hyun gestured toward the empty sofa across from him. Sit. She obeyed without a word, her pulse quickening. He studied her for a long moment, then finally spoke. Now you've seen what happens when people fail me. Do you understand why I told you that you can't walk away? Ao swallowed, her throat dry. You scare them. His lips curved faintly. Good. Fear keeps them sharp. Fear keeps you alive. I don't want to live in fear, she said, her voice quiet but firm. His eyes lingered on hers, steady and unreadable. Then live in me. Let them fear for you. That's the difference. The silence between them was suffocating, heavy with truths she didn't want to face. She thought of the car, the headlights bearing down on her. She thought of the man in the suit on his knees. She thought of her boutique, of her little brother, of everything she stood to lose. The sharp buzz of a phone cut through the room. One of the men stepped forward quickly, handing Seung-Hyun a sleek black phone. He took it, glancing at the screen. For a brief second, something flickered in his expression, something Ao had never seen before. A crack in the armor. What is it? She asked quietly. He didn't answer. His eyes stayed on the phone as his thumb swiped across the screen. The muscles in his jaw tightened. Sir, one of the men said carefully. Is it her? Seung-Hyun's gaze lifted slowly to Ao. Pack your things, he said, his voice lower now, sharper, almost dangerous. We're leaving. She blinked, confused. What? Why? What's happening? But before she could stand, Seung-Hyun tossed the phone onto the table. The screen lit up with a single image, blurry but unmistakable. Ao stared at it, her blood running cold. It was a picture of her boutique, taken just minutes ago. The windows were shattered, the inside ransacked, mannequins toppled over like bodies. And scrawled in thick red paint across the front window were the words. She's already ours. Ao's heart stopped. She looked up at Seung-Hyun, her lips parting, but no sound escaping. His face was unreadable now, but his eyes burned with something darker than she'd ever seen before. They've made their move, he said quietly, almost to himself. And now so will I. Before Ao could speak, he reached out, his hand closing firmly, not cruelly but decisively, around her wrist. The contact sent a jolt through her, the weight of his presence pinning her in place. You're not going back there, he murmured. Not ever. And then, for the first time since she'd met him, Seung-Hyun's mask slipped just enough for her to see it. Not just control, not just dominance, but something else entirely. Obsession. The front door slammed open downstairs, the sound echoing up through the marble halls. Heavy footsteps thundered toward them. One of Seung-Hyun's men reached for his gun. Another barked an order into a radio. Seung-Hyun's grip tightened on Ao's wrist. "Stay behind me." Ao's breath caught in her throat. "Who is it?" she whispered. Seung-Hyun's eyes flicked toward the door, sharp and lethal. "The people who want to take you from me," he said softly. "The ones who don't understand," his voice dropped lower, almost a growl. "That you're already mine." The door handle turned. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe and comment if you want to hear the next part.